lovely human beings of this planet. My name is Taylor Gonzaga, and as you know, I am the artistic director and founder of Opera Cecilia, which is a new opera company made by and for emerging artists, and especially with the new opera goer as well in mind. It was also a company that was meant to help forge relationships with other genres of music in an effort for classical music to become a part of the general music landscape of the 21st century audience a little bit more. We've done a lot of really cool reaction videos on this channel so far. Some of Aurora. We're actually starting an entire series around her. If you're interested in the artist Aurora, there will be a lot more coming from her, including some music video analysis in the future. We've done Ariana Grande, we've done stuff from The Voice, and then of course we've done some amazing opera divas like Maria Callas and Cecilia Bartoli, and then we will also now be doing Luciano Pavarotti, which is perhaps one of, if not the most famous opera singer in the world. He definitely made his way into the mainstream in his career, and I have been wanting to do this video for a long time. So this video is kind of going to be in two different parts. The first part is a little bit of background research. I'll tell you a little bit about the life of Luciano Pavarotti as a performer and what he accomplished in his life. And then I will tell you a little bit about the opera Turandot that this aria, Nessun Dorma, is from. We will be reacting to and analyzing to Luciano Pavarotti singing Nessun Dorma today. And I will tell you a little bit about the opera itself, and we will also dive into a translation of the text, an English translation of the text of this aria together. I'll give some of my own kind of like opinions about how this opera fits in the opera world and Luciano Pavarotti, and why this performance, his particular performance of Nessun Dorma from the opera Turandot, became so famous and such a huge part of our cultural music landscape, at least in the Western world. Luciano Pavarotti, he was born in Modena, Italy. He is an Italian operatic lyric tenor, which basically means that he has this full voice and he's really amazing at legato, kind of a medium-sized voice in the opera world. He was considered one of the finest bel canto opera singers of the 20th century. Bel canto means beautiful singing. It's an Italian style of singing that means having very like florid, fluid phrases and super beautiful, tasteful ornamentations, typically characteristic of the Romance era. Even in the highest register, his voice was noted for its purity of tone, and his concerts, recordings, and television appearances, which provided him ample opportunity to also show his very gregarious personality, gained him a wide popular following in the mainstream. Going on a little bit, Pavarotti actually graduated from a teaching institute in Modena in 1955, and then he taught elementary school in Italy for 2 years. Isn't that crazy? After winning the Concorso Internazionale, a singing competition, he made his professional operatic debut as Rodolfo in Puccini's La Bohème, another Puccini opera, in 1961. And that kind of started his professional career as an opera singer. But I just thought it was really cool to find out that he actually had a teaching career before then and was potentially on a completely different path in life. So that just goes to show that you never know what's really going to happen. And if you're a young artist in the game right now and things feel a little bit slow going, or you're taking on other work as a result of performance work being a little bit more slow going, don't give up, because you never know what can happen. If it happened for Luciano Pavarotti, you never know who's going to be the next one, you know? Let's keep going. He played in opera houses throughout Europe and Australia. He made his debut appearance in the United States alongside Joan Sutherland, who I heard she's an very famous operatic soprano, if you don't already know, and I heard they actually struck up quite a friendship during their careers. He also formed the group The Three Tenors alongside fellow tenors Placido Domingo and Jose Carreras, and they performed at concerts internationally, sometimes in venues of up to 500,000 people in the audience, which is crazy huge, and they were always kind of televised on national television, and he has won 5 Grammy Awards, a Kennedy Center honor, like so many prestigious awards in the music world. So he has been an extremely influential figure, not only in the opera world, but also in the music world as a whole. His last public appearance was in the opening ceremony of the 2006 Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy, where he sang his signature aria, Nessun, Dorma, from Giacomo Puccini's Turandot, which is the aria that we will be hearing him sing today. Going off of that, I wanted to just give a little bit of a background on the opera Turandot, and this is a very interesting, this is actually taken, this synopsis is taken directly from the Metropolitan Opera website, by the way. This is a very interesting piece of work by Puccini. It takes place in the mythic past of Peking, and it does involve a lot of exoticism, which is was kind of a very popular thing. You can see it also in operas like Bizet's Carmen. You have a lot of this thread of like bringing in other cultures or European Western world composers, incorporating musical stylings or references from other cultures and stories from other cultures. And there's a lot of conversations in the opera world about how to take these works and do them a little bit more respectfully, because we know a lot more now, and there are ways in which we can maybe restage or reformat these works to be more respectful or less leaning into harmful stereotypes about these cultures, a more accurate portrayal of these cultures that are reflected in these works. And I just wanted to touch on that real quick, because Turandot is a big opera that involves this, and I do think that it's very important to be having those conversations in the opera world and to be staging these operas if we're going to continue to stage these works, which have incredible music in them, as we all know. If we're going to keep doing them, we have to make sure that we're doing them respectfully and that we are sensitive to cultures and the stereotypes that the work in its original staging could have perpetuated harmfully, and all of those things. That's just kind of like a very generalized statement of, I am a huge advocate for us being as respectful and knowledgeable and understanding of the history behind the works that we're performing in the operatic stage. And I think every single company should be held very much to that standard. We should always be making sure that we're as sensitive and as accommodating to what people of those cultures may be thinking or feeling about these works as possible. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that in this video because of the subject matter of this opera. The opera takes place outside the Imperial Palace, and a mandarin reads an edict to the crowd that basically any prince seeking to marry Princess Turandot must answer 3 riddles, and if he fails, he will die. The most recent suitor, the Prince of Persia, is to be executed at the moon's rising, and among the onlookers are the slave girl Liu, her aged master, and the young Caliph, who recognizes the old man as his long-lost father Timur, vanquished king of Tartary. Only Liu has remained faithful to him, and when Caliph asks her why, she replies that once long ago Caliph smiled at her. The mob cries for blood, but greets the rising moon with a sudden fearful silence. As the Prince of Persia goes to his death, the crowd calls upon the princess to spare him. Turandot appears in her palace, she's the princess, and wordlessly orders the execution to proceed. Transfixed by the beauty of the unattainable princess, Caliph decides to win her, to the horror of Liu and Timur, because he's risking his life to do so. The 3 ministers of state appear and also try to discourage him, but Caliph is unmoved. He reassures Liu, then strikes the gong that announces a new suitor, and the story kind of follows what transpires as a result of this very high stakes wooing of this princess, apparently. So yeah, so there's a lot going on in the plot. As per usual, opera plots tend to be quite complex, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the context of where this aria comes from. Nessun Dorma is an incredibly emotional aria that, for the passion and precision he poured into it, we have all come to associate with the late tenor Luciano Pavarotti. The slight problem with that is that we get so distracted by watching him in his element that we forget to pay attention to the lyrics. I agree. So does anyone actually know what he is singing about? A lot of people don't. I've actually heard some people say that they would rather not. They just kind of want to assign their own meaning. And honestly, I think it's important to understand historical context from a researcher's perspective, from somebody who has studied music extensively in her life. But at the same time, I want people to just really enjoy music how they're able to ingest it at the time. So I don't make any judgments if you're in that boat, but in case you are, you know, curious, this is what this is the foreign language translation that I found. I hope that this is accurate. This seems to be a pretty reliable article, but sometimes when you translate different languages into English, not everything translates directly. So I would probably consider this more of a poetic translation, which means basically that they're phrasing it as an English speaker would speak it, even if the direct translation doesn't line up perfectly with this poetic one. None shall sleep. Even you, O princess, in your cold room watch the stars that tremble with love and with hope. But my secret is hidden within me. My name no one shall know. No, no, on your mouth I will tell it. When the light shines and my kiss will dissolve the silence that makes you mine. No one will know his name, and we must, alas, die. Vanish, O night. Set stars, at dawn I will win. I will win, I will win. So it's very interesting to read that translation after you kind of hear what's going on in the plot. So this is very much a conquest narrative, for lack of better terms. I don't like referring ever to a man trying to woo a woman as a conquest, but it just kind of feels like that sometimes when you listen to the lyrics. But at the heart of it, I really think what it is he's just so transfixed by her that he's willing to risk death in order to earn her love or win her affection. This was a very common narrative in a lot of operatic plots, of this idea of being willing to risk death for your lover. And so while while you can argue whether or not all of that is necessarily emotionally healthy in a modern context, you can understand how plot-wise it would make the stakes very high, and it would cause for a very, very exciting climax. So this is an incredible aria. It has so much emotional impact on its listeners, and it is often performed out of context of the opera, but I think it is really important to understand the subject matter that all of these pieces of music come from. Thank you so much for going on that journey with me, and now we are going to get ready and watch the video. Okay, I'm gonna pause at the beginning just because I want to talk a little bit about how he set up vocally for that phrase. So if you notice, and we're gonna go back for a second, if you notice his preparation for beginning the aria, he is kind of in a state of peace and calm. And if you think about the context of this character, that would make a lot of sense. This character is very motivated, but also very confident in this moment. And sometimes confidence means having a lot of energy, but often it is very calculated, very intentional energy. When a person is confident in what they're doing, no signs of nervousness are shown. And what he does here, and I don't know if he's still got stage presence at this point in the game or stage fright at this point in the game or not. I'm sure that he always dealt with a little bit of nervousness on stage like all of us did, but he is so engrossed in his character in such a very forthright and confident way that he was able to take that nice calm breath as the chorus was beginning to sing and as the orchestra starts for the lead into his aria, and he was able to really, really give a nice exhale on that tone. So that sets you up so well, because from the very beginning, when you take that nice deep breath when you're about to start a piece, you're setting yourself up for being calm and being level-headed throughout the entire thing. If your breathing is short or a little bit more erratic when you are starting a piece, most likely it's going to be a little bit hard for you to gain back that control as the song goes on. So that was just brilliant, and that was the mark of his professionalism as a performer as well. So we're going to go back. Also, the chorus and the orchestra and the lead into this aria is so enchanting that it's so much fun to listen to. So I'm going to start the video one more time so you can watch how calculated and how confident that breath was at the beginning. So that's your first climax in the piece. This piece, I think, kind of comes to multiple climaxes. And what I loved about the beginning of that is, once again, he's containing his energy in this very, very confident and forthright demeanor. He doesn't have a lot going on in his face. He's a little bit more of a singer. But honestly, for this type of a character that is exhibiting this sort of like determination, he's concentrating all of it into his vocal tone and his vocal quality. And I think it actually happens to be very dramatically effective in this instance. What I also love about him, what's going on vocally, is we have this term in opera called chiaroscuro, which basically means a balance of dark and light tones, or a balance of colors, I guess. And that's just kind of really fruity language to say that he has very, very wonderful resonant tone in which his the full capacity of his sound and the different colors and different moments of expressivity in his sound is coming out because everything is so well regulated by the breath. None of his breathing is labored. You want to stay stable when you're singing arias like this, but you also want to remain buoyant and fluid. So sometimes a teeny tiny bit of shifting movement every once in a while that isn't too obvious or distracting can be super, super helpful in making sure that you don't lock up your knees or anything like that. I have actually a really, really funny story. A dear friend of mine from undergrad, we were singing in the chorus for Handel's Messiah together. This was my freshman year of undergrad for my music degree. And we were in this big like cathedral church and we were singing this huge Messiah chorus, and we had been standing in one spot for a really, really long time because the Messiah is not a short work. He got like very, very stiff and started locking his knees, I guess, after a while because we were just standing in the same spot for a really long time. And he ended up passing out in the middle of the performance on stage in front of this huge audience. And he just started to go down, and we all kind of noticed it and didn't really know, like there were people around him that were like helping him get back up or like caught him when he fell. Thank goodness, some of his other like tenors and baritones in that section of the choir. But we had to just kind of keep singing while all of that was happening because we had kind of a Baroque orchestra with us as well, and like all of this other stuff going on. And our conductor looked so frazzled. And it was just like, we laugh at it now in hindsight, but in the moment it could have been really bad. But luckily we had some people catch him and took care of it while the rest of the choir kept singing. That just goes to show that if you stay a little tiny bit too stiff, if you stay a little bit too stiff, or if you not lock your knees too much during a performance, then you can risk not having that circulation travel through your body that you need. And so the worst case scenario is passing out. And then a slightly lesser worst case scenario is also that your breath regulation is not going to be as good as you want it to be when you sing a piece. His tone, you can tell it's loose and buoyant because the vibrato is at a very, very even rate. It's very well regulated. He has a very, very even flow of air that's underneath and reinforcing that tone. And all of these things contribute to all of those beautiful, pure colors in his voice coming out. So that's just kind of a long-winded explanation of what's happening there. But from a singer's standpoint, he's sort of the full package of technical efficiency. And that's one of the reasons why we find his voice so riveting and so beautiful. Okay, at that one part where he's like, che ti fa mia. That's my best tenor impression, by the way. I am definitely a soprano. But at that one particular moment in the song, we're going to go back again because he does an amazing dynamic shift there. And that is so dramatically effective. And that's one of the reasons why this piece is so moving to us and why Romance era operatic music is so moving is because of its dynamic contrast. You have these big emotional swells of the orchestra that's happening behind him. And then you have him dip into kind of a mezzo piano at the end of certain phrases, a little bit of a diminuendo or a gradual decrease in the volume of that sound. And you get these beautiful delicacies among otherwise very robust singing. So let's listen to that little part one more time, because that was a beautiful demonstration of how to maximize your phrasing of the Italian language as well. Okay, so I know we're reaching the end of the aria. This aria isn't actually that long, but man, that's the moment that really gets people, is going up to that high note. And what was amazing about that and how he's balancing out the tone in his high note is he's gradually kind of opening a little bit more and more. So he's facilitating a lift of the soft palate to make sure that's kind of the back of the roof of your mouth, to make sure he's accommodating space for that, but also for treble voices, for higher, both male, female, non-binary high treble voices. Whenever you want to go up into that extreme high of your register, you oftentimes want to modify to a little bit of an ah shape or a little bit of a brighter ah, because not only does it pull the sound forward a little bit, but it accommodates more space. So you get that balance of bright and darker tones, so that you're not too bright and you're not activating your nasal resonators too much, but at the same time, you're also not sucking the sound back, for lack of better terms, as well. You kind of want that balance, and that's why a lot of voice teachers kind of talk about the mask a little bit, is because you want that balance of tone. And if you think about the sound going too far back or too far forward, you tend to interrupt that balance a little bit. So that's just kind of from a vocal technique perspective. From the perspective of an artistic director that is looking for expressive performances to add to her season as well, if somebody like him were to come in singing an aria like this, what I would notice is just this steady growing energy that the performer is facilitating over time. Luciano Pavarotti is amazing at growing in energy, and it doesn't necessarily always happen in his face. Here it happened in his face a little bit. You can definitely tell he's very emotionally invested in the performance in his own way, but it mostly was concentrated in his voice. You see that huge crescendo. He's really kind of clipping his consonants a little bit in the beginning, and it's not interrupting his legato too much, but it's allowing him to come off as a very determined, confident person, because the clearer that we tend to pronounce diction, the more forthright we tend to sound when we talk. And the more determined we tend to sound, which is very appropriate for this character. And then when he gets up to that high note, he's just so reassuring himself that he's going to be triumphant in wooing this very difficult to woo woman. And it's very emotionally powerful. And you're kind of moved by the level of confidence that he has and the level of determination he has. And there's this level of epicness, knowing that he's going to be on an epic quest to fulfill his dream of being with the woman of his dreams, essentially. So those are some of my reasons why I believe Luciano Pavarotti was one of the most impactful operatic performers in history. He has certainly made it into the hearts of millions of people around the world, especially in the opera world, but beyond that as well. There are so many incredible concert performances of him. I will link this particular performance below. This was from a three tenors concert that was given in 1994. Luciano Pavarotti has a special place in my heart as well, because not only is he an absolutely incredible singer, but there's this whole fun story in my family about the fact that my parents were huge Pavarotti fans, and they went to see the three tenors in concert when my mom was pregnant with me. So technically, I can say I've been to a Pavarotti concert, I guess, as well. They always say that because I heard so much of Luciano Pavarotti and the operatic music he sang in the womb, I ended up being inspired to pursue music myself. That's sort of just a fun anecdotal thing that my parents like to say to me sometimes. But yeah, I'm lucky to have parents that exposed me to this music very early on in my life. And throughout my childhood, I also experienced listening to Luciano Pavarotti and a lot of these really, really incredible classical singers. And that was part of the reason why I became so passionate about music. So this video has a very special place in my heart, and I hope you all enjoyed my little take on why I think his performance of Nessun Dorma became so impactful and prominent in the world of music. If you are interested in hearing more of these type of videos, like I said, we have a lot of incredible content coming up. For my Aurora fans out there that may also be tuning into this video, a lot more of her is coming up. We're making a whole entire extra series about her that as soon as I have enough videos and I start organizing my videos into columns on the OC YouTube channel, there'll be a whole column devoted just to Aurora because I love her so much. There'll be a whole column devoted to dissecting operatic music for my opera lovers out there, or for people who are new to opera and just interested in learning more about this incredible art form. And of course, we'll be reacting to other artists. I have some more Ariana videos that'll be coming your way in the coming months, as well as a few other new artists that I haven't reacted to yet on this channel that I'm very excited to incorporate into the schedule as well. And we'll also be doing some other types of content in the future too. So please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for supporting the OC YouTube channel. I love y'all so much. You've been so wonderful to me since starting this, and I am so excited to keep going and to see how the channel grows. So love you all. Bye.